How we doing, everybody? Let's go episode 6 of All of the Bases. We are back in a minute. Hope everybody's doing well. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, the Big East tournament concluded, and St. John's is victorious. So it was certainly fun to be there, and the atmosphere was amazing. It was a 20-point routing at the Garden. We are now speaking to you on Monday, March 18th. So we are a day after Selection Sunday. We now know that St. John's is a 5 seed. We now know that they're playing Northern Iowa in the opening round. It's out there in California, San Diego, California. Not great, but it is what it is. I know a lot of St. John's fans are not going to be too pleased, but they are in a conference with Kansas. We'll get to it. Baseball is back. WBC. A lot of exciting things to talk about. The U.S. just got a great win last night over Team DR, so we'll talk about that as well. And then just some, housekeeping with the Mets, housekeeping with the Yankees as we get ready. Opening day is less than 10 days away now. So it's approaching, certainly at a rapid rate, 12 days away, excuse me. So it's here, and we have to kind of get ready for it. So I think we are, and I think we will here on All the Bases. So first, let's get to St. John's. St. John's had a great game. They did what they needed to do against UConn, and it wasn't easy, right? Because the last time these two teams played, it was at Stores. We covered that game. We talked about it. I believe episode 2 of All the Bases might have been episode 3, but we definitely talked about it. And it was good for them that they got that experience. They got punched in the mouth, a 32-point routing up there in Stores. But we talk about the game too when they played at the Garden. I mean, St. John's can hang with anybody in the country. They've won now 19 of their past 20 games, and they're facing a Northern Iowa team that doesn't have a player over 6'8" that they play on a routine basis. So thinking about the big men, when you're thinking about a front court of Zuby Ejiofor and Bryce Hopkins, that's going to be very good for this St. John's team. And Rick Pitino talked about it. He loves this squad. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. And we look at the rest of this bracket for St. John's, and I want to bring in my producer, Ben, to kind of get some thoughts here as we do talk about the bracket as we show it here. Ben, Selection Sunday was yesterday. I know you filled out your bracket. We have some locals in the tournament too here on Long Island. So what do you make of this new slate here in March?
Well, I'm excited, Dan. I know that's what everyone says every time March comes around, but as we said, we had to make note of, you've got two Long Island teams, Hofstra and LIU, in this year's March Madness bracket. And I'm going to talk more so about Hofstra because it's right nearby my house, only a couple miles down the road. It's right by where I went to high school. And they have a great program. They've had a great program. They've been competitive in their conference, the CAA, for honestly the better part of the last decade. It's just now they're finally coming into their own, if you will. Not that they haven't been competitive before, but now they finally broke through with Speedy Claxton at the helm. And this is a great team that I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they were competitive against Alabama. I'm not going to say they're going to beat Alabama, but I love Speedy Claxton's attitude going into this matchup, saying, no, we're not just happy to be here. That's not just, oh, we're happy to be here. We're fine just making the tournament and out the round the 64. That's not Speedy Claxton's mentality, the head coach. That's not his team's mentality. It's to win no matter the opponent. And this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think also because there's a tiny storyline behind it in Aaron Estrada, who is no longer a Hofstra player. But I know a little bit about some Hofstra basketball history because went some games over the years, and it's right near my house. And Aaron Estrada was the star point guard for Hofstra. Then he left for Alabama. Now, this is a couple of years ago, but still it provides kind of an interesting intrigue of it's not like these two programs are totally disconnected. But I'm rooting for Hofstra. I hope they do well. I also, as a Fordham alum, just on the side note, Dan, me and other people from Fordham have talked about we'd love to see a Fordham-Hofstra non-conference matchup sometime, if not next season, then in the next few years. They play in baseball, which you have called some games, Dan.
Yeah.
So I will say, obviously, Hofstra, as a Long Islander, excited about that. But I'll also mention, as you were there, even as a Fordham fan, as someone who went to Fordham and we even played St. John's a couple times in basketball. Fordham is I think if you're a New Yorker, you should be rooting for St. John's in addition to Hofstra on the side, but St. John's is the one that is really going to be a potential heavyweight, Dan, and they also, there's been a lot of criticism that they shouldn't be a 5 seed and that they had a rough schedule in the beginning of the year, and now they're just peaking right now. And if I will say, I should note that I mentioned when we were discussing that rough loss in Connecticut, Dan, I said St. John's is going to be fine. I said they were trending in the right direction, and it's absolutely right. And when I was making my brackets today, Dan, last thing I'll say, and there's a ton of teams to talk about and cover, but just going to keep it to these couple of teams. I got Duke winning the whole thing, and my uncle went to Duke Law, so I sort of, if they're the big program, I root for them most of the time. And so I'm not a bandwagon for those of you who think I am, but I got Duke winning against Iowa State in the national championship game. I also have Duke meeting St. John's in the Elite Eight. But what I will say, Dan, is I hesitated when I picked Duke to win that game, because I think this St. John's team is so solid, so well coached, Dan. I think this team, as you said, can run with anyone in the country, including Duke. So I'll leave it at that.
No doubt, and that's how St. John's feels too. They feel like they can go into any building around the country and beat any team. And there's certainly problems. I don't like that they're in that East region the way that they are with UConn and Kansas and Duke, but you look at it for what it is. I mean, Kansas has a guy in Darian Peterson who sometimes doesn't even want to play college basketball. Duke has their own problems. Yeah, Boozer is a great, great big man for them, but you have two great big men in Bryce Hopkins and Zuby Ejiofor. So, and the most outstanding player of the Big East tournament, by the way. Zuby was unbelievable. And looking at some of his numbers throughout this season, 16.3 points per game, 7 rebounds a game, 3.5 assists, 2 blocks a game, shooting 55%. Zuby is going to be a first-round pick most likely, but you don't know. Maybe early second round, but he's projected right there in the 30s. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's good to see that this St. John's team is playing well, and if they get matched up against a Duke, yeah, why not? Keep going. Erase the demons of last year when you lost to Arkansas, you lost to John Calipari, you were this 2 seed that lost to a 10. You had RJ Lewis sitting on the edge of the bench, your best player, Big East Player of the Year. It's just a weird scene. So I don't think that's going to happen this year, and I'm expecting big things. Expecting big things for the Big East. I think there is an agenda against the Big East for certain reasons. Which I don't even know what those reasons could be. I have some ideas, but I don't like the treatment of the Big East. But we'll see. This is what it's all about. Just maybe we have a UConn and St. John's matchup in the Final Four. So wouldn't that be interesting? For sure. So keep an eye on it, everybody. You know that we will be. And yeah, that's college basketball. We will just follow this tournament as it goes on. We'll have some coverage. We'll probably, you're picking Duke, you're picking teams like that respectively. I get it. I'm also looking at teams like Arizona. I think they're very good. They could win it all. But don't be surprised if St. John's, man, I'm not trying to be a homer. Like, they're that good of a team. So.
I should add, Dan, just briefly, my dad picked St. John's to win it all. So you're not alone in that prediction. And also one interesting quick note to add on top of that for St. John's. So I love looking at, for any of you college basketball stat nerds out there, data guys, if you ever look at KenPom, which is the rankings of the analytics of just it's objective in the stats of who are the best teams in the nation and in terms of offensive rating, defensive rating. And so St. John's ranks 17th overall in the country, as you know, Dan. But what's interesting is they're ranked 44th in the country offensively, but 12th in the country defensively in terms of defensive rating. They are a top 15 defensive team in the country. I think the narrative, the storyline is going to be, how far does Pitino and crew use that defense, that top 15 defense, to carry them? They say defense wins championships. I know that's cliche, but maybe this will prove that cliche correct.
Yeah. And Patino said after they won the Big East, he said last year's team was better defensively than this team. So it goes to show you how good this team really could be, and the experience. Guys like Isaiah Sellers, who are now here, Dylan Mitchell, who are now here. They saw guys like Zuby win a chip and win the Big East. That's very important. So, yeah, I think it's all a part of the process, and I expect the well-coached team that St. John's is to kind of be the best team, certainly against Northern Iowa, and then let the cards fall as they may. But I think they can beat Kansas. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility. So we'll see. Let's get to Team USA, because Team USA, funny enough, they're awaiting the winner of a game that's going on right now that Italy is up 2-0 in. So there's a very good chance at this point, if the results hold, that Italy will move on and face Team USA in the WBC finals tomorrow night in Miami. I just want to get the obvious out of the way. It was a great game last night, seeing a loaded Dominican Republic team. I mean, they're nasty top to bottom. Ketel Marte, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Juan Soto. They're studs. It was a really tough lineup that Paul Skeens had to fight through, but he did, and he gave it his all. So shout out to Paul Skeens real quick. This is a guy who bleeds red, white, and blue. He served in the Air Force. He's going to go back and serve when he is done. He's just the ultimate professional, what it takes to be an American, the true American story. So shout out to Paul Skeens keeping Team USA in the game. They were down 1-0 early. Then they fight back. They go up 2-1. They didn't look back. Now, there was controversial calls at the end. Mason Miller's strike 3 that to Geraldo Perdomo, that was not a strike, but it was too close to call in a full count with a nasty slider like that. You got to know when to swing. And for all the people complaining, score more runs. It's very simple. That's how you win games. Like, we don't have to overcomplicate things. Team DR lost because they did not score as many runs as the United States. It is that simple. I know Juan Soto had his comments that they are the best team in the world, and that showed last night. Sounds a lot to me like Nate McKinnon after the Olympic game when he said, even though we lost to Team USA, I think we were still the best team. I don't know about that. So I think Juan Soto's a little bit misguided. I know there's been a lot of drama around Juan Soto, him as a player. Why is he showing more emotion with his Dominican friends than he is with the Mets? I don't really know what to say to that. Carlos Mendoza spoke to Sal Licata today on his show, kind of talking about it, just saying it's something authentic. You can't create that kind of environment with the Mets. Now, I have questions about that. The Mets are paying these guys salaries. They should be more excited about a World Series championship than a WBC, but I'm going to let these players kind of just take the national pride as they will, because I think we would do the same. But in the moment, it's fun. It was certainly a big win last night, but certainly some storylines that were pretty interesting off of the whole Mark DeRosa thing that we talked about, where, hey, he punched his ticket to the quarterfinals when they really didn't, and it was just a bad look all around for Team USA. So they find themselves in the championship tomorrow night. Nolan McLean on the mound, and hopefully he can put together a good performance. But Ben, what did you make of Team USA? The game last night was unbelievable, and just everything as a whole.
Well, it's funny, Dan. I was just getting out of my shift at, ironically, MLB Network, where we mentioned last episode that I was starting there. And so my second week at MLB Network officially. So yesterday I was leaving the building after a 2:30 to 10:30 p.m. shift. And just as I'm getting out, Dan, it's the end of the game. It's bottom of the ninth when I'm turning on Sirius on MLB Network Radio. And I wish I got to see that strike 3 when it happened, but I remember listening to it as I'm driving on the Jersey Turnpike, and they're saying, "Oh, he thought that was incorrect. He thought that was a ball." And again, you may disagree with me on this, Dan. I did actually think, looking at that for the first time, on video. I thought that was kind of a ball, but to your credit, it's like if if you don't swing, it's like you kind of it's like you
Too close
strike
to
out
take.
looking, you strike out looking.
Too close to take.
Right. And again, I don't think it's egregious. I mean, there's always calls in a baseball game that can go either way, right? And you could say this is one of them, but as you said, it's like if you're arguing from the team DR standpoint, from the Dominican Republic team standpoint, they should have scored more runs. That's a potent offensive team. They got Juan Soto. They got all those guys out there, and that's they can only show one run.
They had a chance in the 7th inning. They had runners on 3rd and 2nd. I believe there was only one out.
Yeah,
couldn't do anything.
And you know what I also thought was a bit ridiculous, and of course this is minor, unimportant, but it was just a pet peeve of mine. Is correct me who because I'm forgetting briefly who was it who hit the home run for DR against Team USA? Yeah, because he was celebrating quite passionately, and it was early in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where they're celebrating, just ecstatically after these home runs, which are it's not like these are bottom of the 9th home runs. It's like they're going nuts, and it's like top of the 2nd inning. Now this may have not have been against Team USA because
Tatis. You're probably talking about Tatis.
Yes, I'm getting mixed. My apologies.
No, you're good.
So Tatis was celebrating like crazy,
Mhm.
and it's early in the game. It's like, what's going on? Now, again, I think that's kind of funny. You can think that's great entertainment, but if you're doing that obviously it's a different environment, but if you're doing that in a baseball game in the MLB, going crazy, celebrating, even if it's a playoff game in the 2nd inning, it's like I feel like that's a bad look. It sets a bad precedent. And then you get embarrassed when you end up losing that game anyway.
Right.
But it was a tremendous game. I think Team USA, in regards to the Mark DeRosa controversy, they are washing away some of those sins, some of that just kind of bad PR period. And it's ironic because at work people are talking about it as it's not a good look for Mr. DeRosa. But I'll tell you this: if this team wins, which they absolutely could, no one is going to remember that controversy. No one will remember it. But if they lose, it might have a little more of a sting. But at least they have made it this far where that gaffe by Mark DeRosa, it's not going to be completely embarrassing.
Right. If they went out and lost and ended up not even getting past pool play, that would have been way worse. But luckily, Italy was able to come through, and they're coming through again against Venezuela as we speak. So you might see an Italian-American final tomorrow night, which honestly I'm perfectly fine with. I think that would be very cool. I would like to see Venezuela in there. It was fun seeing them down in Miami a week and a half ago against Team Israel. They're a very good team, but I don't know. I think we're going to be treated to a great game tomorrow regardless. Nolan McLean, excited to go back out there. He had quotes today during an interview in a press conference. Really, he said, "You are crazy if you don't want to do this." Just getting the opportunity to put USA on your chest and go out there and compete with the best players in the world, it's an unbelievable experience for me. So Nolan McLean's excited. He's built for this tournament. I know he had a rough outing last time out, but I'm fully confident in McLean's abilities on the biggest stage. So yeah, it's gonna be fun tomorrow night. We'll see who ultimately they end up facing, but right now Italy up 2-0 in the 3rd. Let's move on from baseball. Just kind of quick things with the Mets and Yankees. You got the Lindor stuff progressing. He played his first game yesterday, went 1 for 3 in spring training. Looks good. He's finally at that point where the swing looks right, and all I need to kind of see is that, and then all I need to see is the fielding, which still needs to be seen. But I think everything that I saw a week ago now at spring training, he looked good. There was still some room to improve with the fielding, though. So I think that's probably what he's working on, gripping the bat, swinging full speed. Those are all the things the Mets are looking at right now. But they expect he's going to make this team opening day, and so do I at this point. So excited with that. Mark Vientos returned to Mets camp after Team Nicaragua lost. Jared Young returned after Team Canada lost. Clay Holmes returned as well. So I, I I'm very excited to see this Mets team. And then the Yankees, I mean, nothing really new with them, just kind of seeing the Yankees in the World Baseball Classic. You got Camilo Doval last night for Team DR, but Bednar was unbelievable last night. Aaron Judge continues to be just first class. So I know there was some tying in the Yankees here, Aaron Judge in the WBC. Like, people didn't like the fact that he said it's a better environment than the World Series. But you
He
gotta
was
think about
right.
the we gotta think about the World Series environment. Well, I'll push back on that, Ben. I mean, that might be true, but I think these players put it above the World Series. They when that's not what they should be doing. I mean, Major League Baseball pays their salary. You're with these guys 6 months out of the year. You're with these WBC guys for 2 weeks. Like, yeah, it's exciting. It's a fun tournament, but I have a hard time believing that these guys are so invested in the tournament that they would rather win a WBC than a World Series. So, we'll see though. Excited for the Yankees season, and they look pretty good. Their bullpen is nasty. Carlos Lecrange is nasty. Seeing him, Ben Hedrick is looking to make this bullpen from the left side. So exciting things. We'll bring you some updates as we get them, as we get closer. Now it's really a week and 2 days away from the start of the season. So we'll bring you a couple more episodes definitely before opening day. Excited to be there for opening day. I'll be at Citi Field on Wednesday too for their little taste testing that they do. But I'm really excited for next Thursday because you have Paul Skeens against Freddie Peralta. I'm not excited about the weather. It's supposed to be 40 degrees, so that'll be something. But overall, just good to have baseball back. And that's really cool. So I just wanted to stay on the topic of baseball, Ben, if you had anything, but also just really wanted to see how your first couple of weeks at MLB Network have been going. And yeah, baseball's the best.
Absolutely, Dan. And I was just going to say that the positive aspect. I mean, it's hard to find a negative aspect at all. Just in general, from this World Baseball Classic, what it's doing for baseball for the MLB is, I think. I mean, many people have said that it's always been like this, but I think it's pushing MLB to a decisive second in the four major league sports in the United States. I mean, so many people, Dan, complain about the quality of play in the NBA nowadays, and honestly, I agree with a lot of them. I mean, the load management,
The tanking.
the tanking, the constant injuries, which seem to be more frequent because of the style of play is so quick and so fast paced and so focused on threes and
And
getting those open shots. And
let's
you can
make
add,
this our shortstop segment too. The politics. There's a lot of
yeah,
politics in the
yeah,
NBA.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm sure that can be a turn off to a substantial amount of people. And the MLB, I think it's always taken on a kind of, just it's just a place to watch America's pastime.
Yeah.
That's it's classic, iconic baseball, and I think it's coming back now. As now, you may say it's always been there, Dan, as the decisive second, the solid second in the major four professional sports leagues in the United States. It's because all the popularity and attention this World Baseball Classic is generating. And, people used to say that, oh, baseball doesn't have recognizable stars. And I would absolutely refute that claim nowadays when you look at um, how much Shohei Otani, even though his team is not in it, is a household name.
Mm.
Shohei Otani and Aaron Judge. People say, "Oh, people don't know. People can't recognize baseball stars." It's like you ask the average person, or someone who maybe very loosely knows sports. There's a better chance, Dan. I'm going to say this, and I might get a lot of heat for this, but maybe you could back me up on this. there's a better chance if you ask a casual person who has a very loose knowledge of sports, do you know Shohei Ohtani or do you know Victor Wembanyama? They would say Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this as a Knicks fan, as a guy who's watched the NBA since I was 13 years old. The MLB is coming back in terms of star power. I mean, it used to be in terms of the Trout years, and I say those years when Trout was in a kind of non-controversial. He was the best player in the league.
What Aaron Judge is now.
Right, exactly. And I will say nothing against Trout, and he has had a great career. Some would say a career that hasn't fully been allowed to blossom and live up to what it could do for any franchise he played for, which he's only played for the Angels, of course. I would say that Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are much more marketable than Mike Trout, and it's showing up in events like this. When people want to see Judge put Team USA on and get out there and compete and drive in a home run or two, or Ohtani, look what he did with Japan. Even though they lost to Venezuela, I'm saying this as a basketball fan, as a big Knicks fan. I also love baseball, and I'm able to be objective. The MLB is trending up right now. The only warning signs that are flashing in my mind for the near future is the potential lockout coming next season, next year. That's the only thing that really is on the horizon as something that's concerned. Other than that, I think the MLB is stabilizing. People kept worrying about, it's got a older demographic who watches it. It's losing young people. It's like, well, we're from New York, and I would say this is a metro area, part of the country that's pretty representative of where the kids are and where they're interested. There's a lot of kids who are starting to tune into baseball again. Young people that they want to tune into baseball. Even a friend of mine who barely even watches baseball. He was like, yeah, I've heard Aaron Judge. He's been really good in that World Baseball Classic. Ohtani, I've heard of him. They know Soto. They're beginning to know and familiarize themselves with these big names, Dan. And I think that's part of a transition, that the MLB is getting some of that star power back. They just need to market it a little better, a little more streamlined. And I think, the MLB can just continue to soar in its momentum, which I think it's doing right now.
I think it's well on its way. I think it's doing a great job. I think baseball's, in terms of what we talk about, attention span, the ability to check a phone, which seems to be a priority amongst people nowadays, justifiably so in the world we live in. It all plays to the game. It's outside. People like being outside. I don't, unless you're just a introvert and you don't want to go outside, then most people like being outdoors. Baseball's cool in that respect. And it's also just a place to kind of socialize. With basketball, it's tough to have conversations during the Big East final. It's tough to have conversations even during a regular Knicks game because there's just so much happening. The organ's playing, the crowd's going crazy. It's this closed environment. Baseball, there's that downtime. So yeah, hopefully it's well on its way, and I think we're starting to see the returns with the WBC, even millions of viewers for some of these games. Very interested to see what last night's Dominican Republic USA viewership was, because it was probably through the roof. That game was definitely up there. But let's go round third, get ready to head for home, and we're kind of home. I think we're ready. We're back. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna continue to chip away at this podcast. It's great. We haven't forgot about the podcast. We're just kind of working through some things and making sure it's all squared away. But summertime and all that, we're gonna have baseball and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, overall, I know the Knicks, Ben, real quick on them, just 7:30 tomorrow night against the Pacers. Fresh off that game against the Warriors that they were down and they ended up coming back. So it's good to see from that perspective. Any concerns right now, Ben, with the Knicks, or you just want to get to the playoffs?
Well, it's funny you say that, Dan. I'd say both things at once. I'm definitely concerned, especially with the way they're starting out these games, and
Yes.
it's a lackadaisical manner, and also their gait and uh, body language on the court, or just even when playing and running down the floor. Me and my dad noted just watching a Knicks game. This team looks old and tired when they shouldn't, and it's not even April. It's we still got a couple of weeks left until the playoffs start, and this Knicks team, they're up and down. They're down to teams they shouldn't be. That Warriors team, Dan, there was no Curry, there was no one,
No Draymond.
no Draymond. Um, it's really that those types of games. Now I know it was on NBC, so it was meant to be a marquee matchup. But again, they scheduled that game with the intention that Curry and crew would play, which they did not. That game was supposed to be an easy dub for the Knicks. And these so-called easy wins. I know they say there's no on any given night any team can beat you. Yes, that's true. But if you're a championship contending team, which is a theme that we have reiterated on since we started this podcast. If this Knicks team, if their goal is to reach the NBA Finals or it's a failure, you just can't be. These games cannot be happening, especially late in the regular season. Even if they're wins, you can't just barely scrape out a W against Golden State at home. And I may just I don't know. I'm gonna blow a gasket if tomorrow it's going to be like that last time the Pacers were at MSG, Dan, right before the All-Star break, where it goes to double OT and then they lose. It's like, come on,
Right.
these are games. These are supposed to be the games that are the games you just put in the win column, and there's not much thought to them besides that. And instead, we're just seeing this team is consistently inconsistent. And I'll also add that on the bright side, though, this Knicks team has a top 5 offense and defense in these past few weeks. I believe, if I can check right now briefly before we wrap this up, let's see here. Top 5 offense and defense for the Knicks. So they are a top 3 offense, Dan, and a top 5 defense, which that is probably the brightest sign out of everything that's happened this year. Is this you have both a top 5 offense and defense, you are absolutely a championship contender. But then what's so bizarre is that doesn't quite square with what's happening on the court and when you watch these games. And it's just kind of bizarre that this Knicks team. I think you agreed with me. I may have mentioned this before, Dan. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's it's a bipolar team, and we just have to hope that the efficient, productive, and winning side of that, yin and yang to them comes out in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. But I know the focus right now is on March Madness. That's in basketball. That's what's exciting right now, and looking forward to seeing what our New York teams, St. John's, Hofstra, LIU, can do in this tournament, then, as well as Siena upstate.
Yeah, they got a great matchup against Duke. See how they do, right? Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's certainly going to be exciting. See how these first couple of games go. We'll check back with you guys. Maybe after the St. John's game. I believe they up Friday at 7. So we'll be back. Maybe we'll see how some of these early games go Thursday. Maybe do a full preview. But overall, we'll be back very soon. Excited, and definitely excited to be back on the pod. So Ben, another great episode, guys. Thank you. All the Bases, episode 6. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will be back before too long. Thank you, and have a great rest of your night. Peace.